Well, welcome back, my friends, all to another rousing rendition of Choir Boys Outdoors. Now, this is the Plan A Bowie knife from Condor. So it's a Condor Plan A Bowie knife rendition, if you will. The designer is Julio Diaz, and I love Julio's designs. I'm always surprised. It's kind of crazy, man. The more I do this, and I'll revisit a knife, like I've done the Plan A before, but when I revisit it, the first time I did it, I didn't have a clue who Julio was. Now, it's just kind of cool, if you know what I'm saying. You probably don't, because that don't make any sense, but if you follow the channel at all, you know that it will, because it's me. This is, to me, it's the quintessential Bowie knife. I do like Condor. I've been asked several times in the past couple of weeks what my thoughts were on Condor. It's kind of crazy how that happens. It'll run in spurts. Timbo 437 sent me a box of knives, and he had a couple of Condors in it. I think 3. This one I adore. I've had one before, and shout out to Donnie B all day. I got him one, I got me one, and I think we both gave them away, but that doesn't detract from the knife. When you get a certain amount of knives built up, man, I think it's just kind of natural. But huge shout out to Timbo 437 for sending me this. Now, I'm going to go ahead and tell you a little secret. This is probably Timbo's edge. If I had a knock on Condor, and y'all know I don't do a lot of that at all, but if I had a knock, I would say sometimes the sharpness is up and down. It depends on what you have. Now, this one's razor sharp. That's how I know Timbo did it. But the Condors are always solidly built, at least in my experience. They do a good job with the handle. Now, the pommel on these, I'm going to discuss in a minute after I threw and missed that. You got to love that. Let me go ahead and give you the specs. The steel is 1075 carbon steel. The blade stock is 3/16 inches thick. The overall length is 14 7/16. The blade length is 9 inches. The cutting edge is 8 3/4 inches. The blade width is 1 inch and 15/16. Now, I pulled all these measurements with a tape. I like doing that. I rarely, if ever, look up the specs on a website, especially like if it's a production knife. I just like pulling them myself. So there is some leeway there. You know what I'm saying? The handle length, and when I say handle length, I'm talking solely handle scales, is 5 3/8 inches. The inner grip, which for me is one of the most important measurements on here, is 4 1/4. And if you have a standard grip, if you've just got a hammer grip on that knife, the inner grip is basically where your knuckles sit. So from the blade, from the bottom of the guard or the top of the guard, where the handle meets the blade, down to the pommel is 4 1/4 inches. The handle thickness is 15/16. It comes with a Kydex sheath, and it has a leather and Kydex frog, if you will. I really do like the sheath system on this one. It has micarta handle scales. The weight on this thing is 25.05 ounces, so it's got a little pop to it, little bang to it. Now, I mentioned revisiting this knife. I did a video 3 years ago, and I'm going to put it in the description, and I would ask that you watch both of them. And I rarely ask you guys to do a whole lot of that, but you'll see a couple of differences. One is not only weight loss, but the style of video. It's almost like the first video, I spent most of the time in the swamp chopping. I wanted to start this video kind of that way, but here's the thing. This Bowie, in my opinion, and people will tell me all the time, oh, it's for stabbing, oh, it's for fighting. Well, who the hell are you going to fight in this day and age? I mean, it's good to know that. I appreciate it. The fact that it's a Bowie style knife named after a guy who was made famous by a sandbar fight. And if you haven't read Jim Bowie's Sandbar Fight, the account, you need to. It'll give you a good appreciation. Here's the thing, though. Those guys, Bowie, his brother, all the frontiersmen back then, and our forefathers, and all the guys who founded this nation. When they carried a knife, son, a lot of them didn't have a lot of money. So it ain't like it is today where they had 5 or 6 different fixed blades and pocket knives. And no, typically what they had, they used. If they carried a Bowie knife or they carried a knife this style, well, I'm sure a lot of it was for self-defense, because back then you actually would have to use it. But it was also used to build a shelter. It was also used to process game. It was used to whittle. Anything you needed a knife for, you had to use what you had. So what I wanted to do with this video, unlike the first video, is just show you a couple different things. You know from my videos, there are times we dwell a little too long on things, but here's the reason for that. Like right here, I'm just kind of whittling out or making a tent stake, right? I just like to see how the knife feels. I show this stuff to you. I try to leave as much in. I might even leave the entire video in and speed it up instead of cutting it out. Why? Because I want you to see what all went into the video. I wanted to give you a good look at the different uses of the knife. Even if I get stuck on something, even if I don't do something well, it might be something you could handle a little better. Overall, I really, truly, honestly adore this style. Now, I wanted to talk about the pommel. The pommel on this knife and on Condor's Woodbuster. There are times that the other slight knock, and it did not show up on this knife, is sometime on the edges of the pommel, they're a little sharp. So when you go to chop or you go to do something, it can bite into your hand. I did notice with this knife, it was not an issue. And I actually like the pommel because I could hang a couple of fingers off the bottom for more leverage when we did some chopping. Again, it's 1075 steel. Now here's kind of where I've come in this process. These videos, I've decided just to kind of give you a good overall use video. That's what I'm aiming for. I'm not trying to show you how tough the damn thing is. I'm not trying to show you, oh, it can break or it can't break, or make crazy statements. I just want to show me using the knife. I've said many times I'm a novice at best. I'll hold to that. One thing is this. I'll go through a video. Now, you notice with this one, we started off and we just processed up that little, you call it a tree, but it's brush. It's a limb. It's not very big. It's a weed that grew into a tree, right? But the idea there is to put a little work in, put a little chopping in, put a little batoning in before we ever do any cutting or slicing. Beat up on the edge a little bit because I know it's sharp. It's Timbo's edge. You know it's sharp. If you are not a subscriber to Timbo's channel, it's literally Timbo, Timbo 437. I'll put a link to him probably in the title. It'll be blue. Just click on it. Go check him out and give him a subscription. Awesome guy. Awesome knives. It's kind of crazy. I mentioned earlier in this video that people have been asking me my opinion on Condor. And sometimes, guys, I get associated with certain brands. But I have over 8,300 videos at this point. I show a little bit of everything. And I like a lot of different companies. The knives that I don't like, you don't see on here. I want to give you the best look I can. I love this knife. It handled very well. It started off very sharp. It finished pretty good. I start the videos off and I end them with slicing paper. Does that prove a knife's good? Absolutely not. It just shows where the edge is at. I was really surprised with the amount of cutting and slicing and chopping we did on this video, how well and how clean it cut up this paper. Now, I ran this segment a little long so I could do my causes and do all that. At the end of the day, would I carry this knife? Absolutely. I love it. I love the sheath. I love the way it carries. I love the feel in hand. I love the balance. I love that it's got a little weight to it, a little heft to it, Timbo. I appreciate you very, very much. Now, guys, listen. There was a time in this country where 22 veterans a day took their own lives. The stats are everywhere. We're right smack dab in the holiday season, so they're going to be higher. That's why on this channel we focus on the number 0. Anything over 0 is simply unacceptable. Bets, we love you. Man, you got a place here. Guys, I back the blue. I mention this every day. I get a lot of blowback for it, and that's okay. It's all right. It's something I believe in. You don't have to. It's not an easy time for that, right? And I have my reasons. I'm just not going to argue about it. I respect your right not to. Finally, if you are an addict, and I am, never quit quitting. Well, Timbo, brother, I appreciate you. Your old scab whipping it around there. There, I'm pointing to the pole there. See how that's... Now, this time, I don't know if Timbo whittled it down a little bit, but man, this thing felt good in hand. Guys, I'm Scab. You're not. And I'm gone, son. We'll see y'all on the next one. Appreciate you. Oh, welcome to the gun show. Oh, yeah. Uncle Rico in it.